I'm Vicki Hogarth, and welcome to Southwest Magazine. New Brunswickers will head to the polls on October 21st in the 41st provincial election. Here to tell us about his platform and his party is the leader of the People's Alliance, Rick DeSaulniers. And later in the show, we will be joined by the St. Croix candidate for the People's Alliance, Alex Tessman. Thank you so much for being here today, Rick. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for the invitation.
So it's election season, so I have to follow election ethical guidelines and ask you the same questions as the other leaders, giving you the same amount of time as well. So the first question is, what do you believe are the most pressing issues facing New Brunswickers today?
Well, I'd like to start off by saying hello. It's nice to be back after somebody tried to destroy our party, but here we are, the People's Alliance, back on the scene. I'd like to just say that Higgs and Austin didn't succeed. They tried to destroy us, and they failed. But having said that, the most pressing thing, I think, in this election, and for New Brunswickers as a whole, is health care. Health care is a mess in a lot of ways, and one of the things that I personally experienced while visiting a hospital is I was walking down the area in the Dr. Everett Chalmers Hospital, and I was walking down towards the scan area, and I noticed all these beds lined up in the hallway. And as I got closer, I noticed that they were filled with a lot of senior citizens, and they were laying there helpless, lonely. It was sad. Like it was just like, it really moved me to see those folks in there, and then to understand better later. I asked a lot of questions, and excuse me. But I understand that at any given day or any given time, there could be anywhere from 300 to 500 senior citizens living in our hospitals in the whole province, right? And that's a shame, and it's just something that I think is probably the number one thing in healthcare that needs to be addressed, because the facts to be known, those people have to be looked after by the people that work in the ER, and we all know about the horror stories we hear about the ERs, right? And also those folks are taking beds that could be used for overnight stays for folks that need to have a hip replacement or a knee replaced or whatever. They're taking beds. So it really bungs up the hospital in a way that's not good, right? And to get them out of the hospital it's got to be a priority. I know that we achieved it during the pandemic. I think we skirted some laws and things to be able to do that, right? Under the emergency order, you could. But now Higgs has had 4 more years of time to straighten that out, and he hasn't done that. They have to prioritize the healthcare system. They have to get the seniors out of the hospitals. They have to make sure there's room in in senior care. That is one of the things that really bungs up the whole system. And one of the things that slows that down and makes it a bottleneck is social services. Social services are the ones that do the assessments on them. They only work 9 to 5, and they don't do an expedited job. And they should do a better job at that. So that being said, and all the other things that we have in healthcare, there's a lot of things that have to happen, right? We need more expertise, more doctors, more nurses, more nurse practitioners, you name it. Whatever profession it is in the hospital or in the clinics or whatever, we need more of that. And it's the most pressing issue, in my view, in this province, bar none.
So for question 2, how would your government address the shortage of healthcare professionals and improve services across the province? Your first answer leads perfectly into this one.
Well, it's a question of more personnel, but it's also a question of managing the personnel that are available, because all of Canada and the world, for that matter, have the same problem. So you have to manage the resources, and you have to come up with some better ways of doing what you've been doing better. Like it's just a management thing, and you're going to have to try to make sure that you get the most out of it that you can with what you have. And you still have to continue to work on retention and recruitment and all of those things. But what we have to deal with today, we have to work with. So it comes down to a better management. And I think that when we met with the New Brunswick Medical Association, they have a really good plan. And I'm not going to say that I would fund it completely. We're not going to be making promises that we don't know that we can keep. But I could promise that we will work with them. Their plan is good. In principle, I fully support it. And they have a plan where they want to do like a collaborative approach, open more clinics, have more expertise in the clinics, more nurse practitioners, and doctors, and whatever you have to make a clinic work. And I think their plan is sound, and it should be pursued. And I don't know why Higgs hasn't done that yet. He's had 4 years, and that plan's been out there. They've been saying this, and he hasn't done it. Right.
The housing crisis is a significant issue in New Brunswick. What strategies would you implement to increase affordable housing and also address homelessness?
Well, housing is in all levels. You got to have all hands on deck. You need the municipal, provincial, and federal governments all working in collaboration and coordinating what they're going to do. And we believe that rent caps can be very useful. But in saying that, when you talk about rent caps, there's other players involved. There's people that build apartment buildings and housing, and people that do all that. You can't put them in a position where you squeeze them out of the business, because you need them to continue to provide the housing that you need. So you got to get in there, and our party is still based on common sense, and you got to use some common sense. You got to get all the players together. You have to come up with a plan that everybody can agree to support, and go at it from that kind of approach. And I think that you could work wonders, and you could do the same thing with people that are homeless. You just have to work collaboratively, use your common sense, work with all the players that you need to work with, and just go to work. I mean, hard work's a good thing, right? Just get out there and do it. Yeah.
What are the biggest challenges facing New Brunswick's education system, and how would you address them?
That's not much different than the healthcare issue, really. I mean, they like to put retention ahead of recruitment. When we met with those folks, and they have a wonderful plan as well, and a plan that I too support in principle. I'm not going to commit to funding their plan, because it's just not a prudent thing to do. But in principle, their plan is sound. They have a lot of problems. They have a lot of absentee problems. They have shortage of teachers, and they have an opportunity, and you can do the same in healthcare. You can bring teachers or people that aren't qualified to be teachers. You can set up a system where they can come in and work in an environment where they're teaching, where there's other teachers that they can rely on for their expertise or their experience, and talk to them and help them through their day, kind of thing. And there should be a system where they can get their accreditation that way, help them become bona fide teachers. You could do that. That's one way to attract more people. And then workplace culture is not all that well in healthcare or education. That's why there's so many people leaving, and so much absenteeism, things like that. The workplace culture, you got to treat people with respect. They got to have their dignity, and you got to make them feel good about coming to work. Mm-hmm. You don't want to stress them out and send them home crying or whatever affects certain individuals, right? We don't need to be doing that. They're not psychiatrists. They're not doctors. They're teachers, mm-hmm. right? And I think sometimes that we expect way too much from them as a government, and we put, well, not government, but the government in general puts too much pressure on them, and they put them into stressful situations where it makes it hard for them to really perform. Because if they don't enjoy what they're doing, they're not going to perform well. So it boils down, like the workplace culture is a big problem in a lot of the workplaces in New Brunswick. And I think government is a big part of that, part of that problem. Government needs to smarten up. Right.
how does your party plan to tackle climate change?
Well, given that the percent of the world's carbon emissions, Canada is like 1% or less, or around 1%. And then if you divide that out across Canada, New Brunswick is really minuscule. And, I don't criticize anybody for wanting to fight climate, or anybody that wants to be an activist per se, but you're not going to save the world in New Brunswick. That's not going to happen. Like our party has, we have a policy in regards to glyphosate spraying. I think that's an environmental thing that we're proud. We've had that in our policies for a long time now, and we have a lot of concerns about clear cutting, especially when you get close to waterways and things like that. There's some common sense things. I'm big on small nuclear reactors, and I also think that the future of energy that's really going to save the world probably are the nuclear fusion. That science is now starting to break through. They're starting to get results that are you can calculate them, and I think they're starting to lean towards maybe getting something done, and that would be fantastic because it's totally clean, and it's really efficient.
Okay, we're down to the last question. You have about 6 minutes to answer this, so use the time however you like as well.
Yeah.
What specific plans do you have to boost economic development in New Brunswick, particularly in rural areas? And how would you work with local governments to achieve these goals?
Well, that's a hard question to answer. I mean, we've always been busy or big on small business, our party. Like we don't believe in giving out handouts, corporate welfare, if you will. We're not into that. But I think all of the support that you can give to small business is good. They create a lot of jobs. They're jobs that people can identify with, and the community can connect with that, and they have an easy time supporting them. Like, I'll give you an example of one thing that I'd like to see more of is community year-round greenhouses, like they have in the Northwest Territories and Yukon and them places. I think those things would be really cool. Like if you could get some buy-in on that and government participation and support, and have these year-round, and have them all over the province, not just in one spot. Like, don't have, you can't rely on just one area. We got to get away from that, like the big box stores and stuff. If you could get away from that big stuff and get down and get it more spread out, and people can rely, like, it would be nice if you could have fresh tomatoes, even down here, you had, in St. Andrews, if you had a year-round hothouse, you could have fresh produce. And I'm sure the locals would love to have fresh tomatoes in the middle of winter. Things like that, and that would create jobs. I think it'd be worthwhile. You could even do it in a cooperative sense, right? And you could do the same thing with a lot of things. One of the reasons that groceries are so costly right now is because during the pandemic and the wars and stuff that are going on in the world that are causing everything, all that inflation that we've experienced, right? Well, that inflation now is baked in. It's not going to go away. Like the big box stores, they're not going to drop their prices. Their prices are what they are. They're not going to go back. You're not going to go back from paying $4 or per se on a can of tomato juice back to paying $2. They're just not going to do that because they're greedy and they're going to hang on to that. But if you could make more things locally, then you cut out a lot of the transportation costs, which cuts out the HST, it cuts out the carbon tax, it cuts out a lot of things because they can't add it to the cost of bringing you that product because it's made locally, right? If we could get into more things like that, I think it's really good for the economy, and it makes a community. You build a community, and everybody be proud. Like they'd be happy. They're all working together, they're feeding each other, like they're building homes together. All of that kind of thing. Just bring it back to the small town kind of mentality, and I think that would work wonders in the rural communities, right?
You have a few minutes left. Any final thoughts before we bring Alex on set?
Oh, bring out Alex. Let's have Alex.
Okay.
I think he might be ready.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Rick DeSaulniers and I will be joined by the St. Croix candidate for the People's Alliance, Alex Tessman. We'll be right back.
Voting in New Brunswick is quick and easy. If you are on the voters list, Elections New Brunswick will send you a voter information card indicating where and when you can vote. Call Elections New Brunswick if your information needs to be updated. When you go to vote, take the card with you for faster service. In New Brunswick, you do not have to show ID if you are already registered to vote, but you must confirm your name and address. The election official will then strike off your name as voting. Another election official will give you a ballot and direct you to a voting screen to mark your ballot in secret. On the ballot, you fill in the circles for the candidates you are voting for, and then you put your ballot in the tabulation machine. Congratulations, you have voted. Get the election facts from your trusted election source. Visit electionsnb.ca.
Welcome back to Southwest Magazine, where we are once again joined by leader of the People's Alliance of New Brunswick, Rick DeSaulniers, as well as with his candidate for St. Croix, Alex Tessman. Welcome to the couch, Alex.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to be here.
I'm going to start off by asking Rick why you are the right candidate for St. Croix.
Well, there's a lot to say, but I really have to say the one thing that impressed me about Alex when we interviewed him and did our vetting, of course, is that he's very intelligent and he's got good credentials. He's a chartered accountant, and he's done a lot of things in his life. He's a lot of various diverse experiences. He can tell you about all those if he wishes. But I found him to be a very unique individual. I think he can bring a lot to the legislature if the good folks down here in Charlotte County and in this riding choose to put him there. I think that he will do them proud, and I think that he would be a very good in the legislature because he could help us out in criticizing the budgets and things like that, and helping the party out and those sorts of things. And he just oozes with credibility, and he also, when he puts pen to paper, he's a pretty fair writer. So we're happy we have him. We think we're lucky, and we wish him all the best.
And Alex, why should people vote for you?
As I was telling you earlier, I was sounding off rather vociferously to a gentleman that I didn't know was a candidate, and I was roped into becoming a candidate. I've had strong opinions politically for a lot of years, but I've never acted on them. So I figured at this point in my life and my career, it was time to literally put my money where my mouth is and see if I can make some kind of a difference. My background, I have well in excess of 35 years of experience as an accountant, as an entrepreneur in the private field. I taught business courses for the Business Development Bank in Vancouver for 6 or 7 years. And the work that I do as a profession requires me to be analytical, and it requires me to be pragmatic, and it requires a lot of common sense. So it's the common sense approach that the People's Alliance has that really attracted me to this party. I am looking forward to the ability to be able to hold whatever government comes out of this next election. I want to be able to hold their feet to the fire. And I think with my perspective and my background, I should be able to do that, and I'm not above making a lot of noise about it. If I'm elected, I will be there for the people in the constituency. I will be around, I will be visible, I will be active and proactive to address the specific needs. With my background in finance, I think I can take a close look at the tax structures in our province, because I truly believe that they are not being used appropriately. Can I give an example of this 2% reduction in the provincial portion of the HST? Well and good, but if you consider that I believe the average earned income in the province is about $46,000. All of that money is going, the people that are earning at that income level, that money is all being consumed just to survive. They're not the ones that are going to benefit. The common people are not going to benefit from that tax cut. The people that are going to benefit are the people that are earning double that. So if you have after-tax income of $40,000 and you spend it all, your maximum benefit on that 2% is $800 a year. To which I say, whoopee ding. If you're earning $80,000 a year after tax, your benefit's $1,600. Okay, now it maybe make a little bit of difference, but at that level, it doesn't really make any difference. It's not enough money. Where I believe the tax focus should be would be on things like the cost of the fuel tax, because that affects those of us who actually earn a living. It should be, why are we not going back to where we don't charge tax on children's clothing? That will put money back at the level where it needs to be. Those are the kinds of things that I would enjoy addressing and enjoy holding whatever the reigning power is at the time. I really want to be able to use my experience, my knowledge to hold them accountable.
One last question is for both of you, and Rick, we'll start with you. Why is your party the right party to lead New Brunswick right now?
Well, I'm going to say this about that. I'm not sure that we're going to be the party that leads the province, but I do think, however, that there's a really good chance that we could end up in a minority government situation again. And if we elect a few folks and we get in there and we have the balance of power, as the Telegraph Journal used to say, that maybe we'll be the kingmaker, right? That being said, then with good folks like Alex, I'm sure that we could make damn sure that we get good representation from government and that we get good results. And it doesn't matter who the premier is, as long as the people of New Brunswick are getting good results. That's what matters in my book, and that's why we have the campaign slogan that people matter, because they do, and that's why we're in this, and that's the outcome that we want. We want people to know that they matter.
And final thoughts are with you, Alex. Why is your party the right party to lead New Brunswick right now?
What I really like about the People's Alliance Party is that we're not beholden to the political structure. That was one of the things that I discussed with Rick right from the very beginning. We don't have a party whip that forces us to vote in a top-down political environment. It's very much from the bottom up. So when Rick and I talked about my joining and becoming a candidate, he was very, very clear to let me know that my number one responsibility was not to the party, it was to the people that are going to be my constituents. And I think that's the key issue there. The common sense approach, an open-minded approach, a willingness to take the best from all corners of the political spectrum, and the responsibility to make it all work. I don't think that being conservative and being socially responsible are mutually exclusive terms. In the right management structure, they can achieve what needs to be achieved in our society.
Well, thank you both so much for coming in today to introduce us more to your platform and to yourselves. And I will look forward to seeing you at Meet the Candidates.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Looking forward to that as well. Thanks for the opportunity.
And you're welcome, and thank you very much again for inviting me.
Come back anytime. My guests today have been Rick DeSaulniers, leader of the People's Alliance of New Brunswick, and Alex Tessman, candidate for St. Croix for the People's Alliance. I'm Vicki Hogarth. Thank you for watching Southwest Magazine.
Southwest Magazine is a news and public affairs production of CHCO Television.